Hey guys, welcome to Astrano's podcast. So excited to be here with you guys today. We are going to have another big one today talking on the educational system. This whole month, as we told you guys last week, we're just talking on all of the systems around us that create dissonance and trauma and that society normalizes. By gaining awareness of these things around us, we can really start, like, just the awareness itself is going to start a massive healing process within you. Okay. You're going to be just able to really see clearly, like, why you are the way you are, what beliefs that you hold that drive you in life. Is that really you, or is that what society taught you to be? Are these some of these personality traits that you have? Is that really you, or did you get it from this system, this way that you were brought up? So it's going to be really fun. It's going to be, some of these conversations are hard to have, like we've been saying, but we're going to bring that healing frequency through for you guys as much as possible. We'd love to hear from you guys and have these conversations together, and we're going to get through this together. So yeah, we're going to kick it off with talking on the schooling system, the traditional schooling system that is similar worldwide. There is variations with, private schools and stuff. So we're going to talk about all of this stuff, how we were groomed since childhood to act and believe and do all of these things in a certain way. Welcome and hello. I'm going to let everybody else say hi really quick.
Hello.
Hey guys.
What's going on?
Hello. Yeah, super excited to talk about this because I feel like so many people have had an experience in school that may have not been totally enjoyable, or an experience where they didn't want to go to school a lot of the time. And, we put so much time and effort into, we're spending a lot of our life, the first part of our life, sitting at the desk, listening to the teacher, being told what we can and can't do. So it's a very interesting topic to break down, because I feel like a lot of kids especially know that there's something not right, but they're told that they have to listen, and this is the way it is, and this is how it goes, So I'm very thankful that we can break this down today.
Why do you guys think the education system was created?
For me, go ahead.
King.
I think for me, it's kind of like, looking at a bird's eye view, right? And then, let's say you're a bird, and then you look down, and then you see all these human beings just running around. And I think without the, educational system, there would be a chaos, because what I think is that the educational system, what it does is it creates order. So that's why I think it was created. But there's a lot of things that I don't agree with it, that I think that, that there could be an alternative, but that's what we're going to talk about. But yeah, for me, it creates that order.
Yeah, and like structure. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind for me, is like people, especially, I don't know when it started, but humans just think that there has to be, this is how it is, this is what you learn, you need to learn this because of this. And I think that, I don't know, but because we read this amazing book, Anastasia, and it, like, the way she taught her child was, okay, just go let them run in nature, if they run into something that isn't good, then they'll learn from experience. Whereas nowadays it's, you can't, like, it's not even the option to try it. Like, there's no try and learn and have that experience. It's, you don't do that, okay? You just don't. And yeah, I think it's like King said, it's just like some kind of, you know what it is to me is probably just control.
So it's interesting that you guys are like thinking this, because the definition of school is any institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline.
Discipline.
Isn't that interesting? Like, that is literally the definition of what school is.
Yeah. It is crazy.
So yeah, it is an order in a sense, because we are literally programmed to be there. It's almost like when I think of school, I think of like babysitting. And eventually, when jobs started coming around, who was going to watch the children?
That's
Who was going to raise the children?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's too like daycare, like people who have like, 9 to 5 jobs, they send them to daycare and then, they start like learning the alphabet and all of this stuff. It starts, and it is totally, yeah. And it kind of puts that in the child perhaps too, like that they're being sent to this place. It's not like, it's not like they're coming into this space and they're being told that this is, a place to play. I mean, in some ways they are, but I think every child knows that this is like a strict, yeah, like you're being disciplined in a way, like you're saying, like it's just this structured thing, and then you have like 10 minutes to go play on the playground, right? And then it's come back to class. Like, what?
It's like, I think it's kind of like a domestication of humans, you know?
Yeah.
They take out that primitive instinct and then they make you like, you do this, you do that, you follow this person, you follow the teacher. And then it also, so I was actually watching this video. This is what Kanye said. It's really cool. But he's like, we spend most of our, most of our early lives in school. And then when we get tested, we answer questions. So throughout our life, we're in this like state of like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So it's like, that's what it creates. I gotta find the whole video, but he said something like that. And, it made so much sense to me because, it's like, yeah, he's right. Like when someone asks you a question, you always want to say the right answer for whatever reason. But yeah, it's like, no, you just have to say your truth, what's true to you, just say that. And yeah, but it's very interesting to me, school.
Yeah, it's very true. There's actually a quote. So we are going to bring up this book a few times tonight, 7-Lesson School Teacher, Dumbing Us Down. Okay, we recommend that everybody after this podcast goes and checks it out if it resonates for you. We're going to bring some experts from it. But one of them is that this quote was like a bunch of people like the Rockefellers and high up elites like that were studying how to control a society, and they all kind of came up with this same quote or realization, which was children must be closely watched if you want to keep a society under tight control. So you guys are bang on with the real, like with your thoughts around schooling is developed to condition a human being from an early age to control the way they think, to control the way they behave so that they're predictable. Okay?
Yes.
And so the history around why or when the educational system was developed in the way that it is today, okay, it hasn't really changed much, which is a big red flag. Something should always be evolving, right? If we have a system or something that is staying the same, stagnant, there's a red flag there, okay? Because everything should be evolving as we evolve. So that really shows a sign or a parallel to the stagnancy in society, or actually the de-evolution of a society. So in 1850, that's when this intense institutional system that was created came into play. And the people back then in 1850, they fought this. They fought this to the death. They wanted to keep their kids at home. They wanted to teach their kids how they were teaching their kids. And they wouldn't send them to these institutions. In 1880, they had to bring in like the army, the police force to escort children to school. And that's when it really they started to bring the hammer down and force people to send their children to this institutionalized school. Okay. A big like quote here from the book again is, this is just a proof for you guys. So it's a proof of the dumbing down of society. And we like to think that in the past we've evolved, we've become smarter, we've become, we've evolved from where we were, and that's just simply untrue. But this is a quote. So if you pick up a 5th grade math textbook from 1850, you'll see that the texts that were pitched then on what today would be considered a college level. So grade 5ers from back in 1850 were learning what we are learning today in college. And that should really, really shock you just hearing that quote.
Damn. Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I'll share this story. So, when I first came here to Canada, like in my high school, we weren't allowed to use a calculator. So when we would do tests, you'd have to do everything in your head, and you'd have like a sheet of paper, like just to like do your calculations. But when I came here, every test, like, here's a calculator. So I was like, oh, easy.
Makes
So
it easy.
it makes it easy. So yeah, and yeah, like I remember that time I was grade 8 when I came here. I was studying. We had this test, and I was just like, oh, I've learned this already, and I could just see like it's like, oh, like everywhere, like in back then in my high school in the Philippines, everyone's like, everyone's like, there's so much pressure to like be the top, that everyone was just fucking good at whatever they're doing. So I was just like, I'm just trying to copy, But when I came here, I was just like, whoa, I could catch up. I'm like, I could compete with these people. And yeah, that just shows like it's true. Like it's so insane. Like we've been dumbed down by the school system.
It's scary.
It's really scary. King, it's interesting that you're saying all that, and your education kind of sounded a little bit more like mine in a sense, because I was homeschooled for most of my life. And in my school, we would only, read and do actual school maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. And the rest of the day was to be doing whatever else we needed to do, whether it was taking other classes, because we didn't need to be in school for 8 hours a day. They're literally training you
For the work
to be ready for work.
Yeah.
Exactly, King, to be ready for the workforce, because you don't need to take school for 8 hours a day, but we do. They drag out this lesson. So I was like homeschooled from, well, like kindergarten to grade 7. And grade 7, I went to school for the first time, like a public school. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is this that you guys are learning in this class? Like, it was like you were saying, King, I already like have learned this like years ago, and it doesn't take like 4 or 5 classes to learn about this one subject. Why are we learning at such a slow pace? And I was actually shocked. Like, I was like, is this what you guys are actually learning? Is this what school is like?
It's true. And I'll share too, like my schooling experience. I went to high school from I think the high school started, like you would transfer to the high school in grade 9. And I went to public high school, grade 9 and 10. And then I just really disliked it. So I switched online, and I started teaching myself from I think it was maybe partially grade 10, 11, and 12. And this school that I did it with, basically you could finish the whole year, and you like in like 3 months if you worked hard. Like, and they were like, yeah, you can have like the rest of the year off, you just have to finish this work. And like you're saying, it's so crazy, because I could like actually spend my like 3 to 4 hours a day doing work, and I finished way before school would have, because I prioritized like different things, and I wasn't sitting in class watching a documentary for a week, like they kind of put in these things that you're saying, like they just like take up your time, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm learning. But it's so crazy.
And also, it's like there's the way it's taught, or the way teachers. I don't know how it is now, but when I was learning, it's like you're taught like one way, but I've learned that people learn different ways. Like for me, I struggled a lot because it's like I'm a visual learner, and I like to learn things. I like to do them, but most of the time it was mostly like, here, read this, and then you get tested. But I'm like, I need to like do what I'm learning so I can understand it, and so that was like a struggle for me. I was like, what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. But it's so interesting how they created this whole, it's like this whole institution, you know. It's like
For only one type
yeah,
of student.
yeah.
Just like you're saying, like there's so many different learning styles. And if we were to actually, in the education system, look out for each one of these educational styles, I feel like everyone would be geniuses.
100%.
Because there's like people that are good at all different types of things. And like when I went to school, I was like, why do I need this? Like, what exactly am like I learning that it's going to make me better in life? You know? Because in school, you're learning you're only allowed to have these jobs in this specific field, and if you want to do anything, you have to go to school.
Yeah, you have to take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of your life just so you can get in that job, you know. And it's like, no, God, no, I don't want to do that.
I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, everyone who has an education, like, that's a horrible thing. I've gone to school and it's been an amazing experience as well. And I've learned a lot of things. But the way that they teach in the education system from like K to 12 and even in college, there's something wrong with it. And it's the seeing that there's something wrong in this pattern of what are we teaching people? Are we giving them life skills? Or are we just dumbing it down to waste your time and just keep you there?
Yeah.
And you're paying for it still.
Sometimes they just literally would just read like from the textbook. Like they would just, you know, use whatever's in the textbook, and then they don't even have any like it's just like, you know, like here's the textbook, read it, and then, you know, you're gonna whatever, like there's gonna be some information here, you're gonna get tested if you remember what you've read. And it's like, come on, man. You can do better than that.
And two, I want to say, like you're saying, school is such a, like, it's definitely something to be grateful for, to be able to learn.
Yeah.
And it's one of the other reasons that I switched online too is because I was in school and I wanted to learn, like I was excited to have information, but because of the environment, I like was developing depression, anxiety, like I hated being there. And it kind of creates this, I don't want to be too dramatic, but like it's kind of like torturous. Like you're sitting at a desk, you can't understand how to learn because they're not teaching you in a way that is actually beneficial to you, and you're being told that you're not smart, you're failing your tests, you know, like it creates this lowering of self-worth, and it really negatively impacts the mind and how you move forward in life. And when I did switch online, I was so excited because I could, you know, like actually go buy books and like kind of alter my schooling to what I wanted it to be. And like when you're homeschooled, you can do that too. Like you can kind of make it like real, like a real experience. I don't know how to say it, you know?
I had a real experience and a real education, I feel, from my mom homeschooling me and my brother and my little sisters, because she figured out how we learned. Each one of us had a different learning technique. I was kinesthetic. I was like you, King. I had to like touch it and feel it and like know what I'm doing, because like I can like take this machine apart and like learn if I'm like touching it and like seeing it rather than reading a book. Or we would, you know, do a project on Egypt and we would dive into the culture, and you know, we'd sew like a toga and like do the makeup and cook a meal, you know, and actually dive into these things, because it's not that people don't want to learn. It's the way in which we are being taught certain things, whatever is on the agenda. That is like the main thing. And I think it's very interesting with this author that Alyssa was talking about. His name is John Taylor Gatto. And this book, Dumbing Us Down, is so interesting because he is a teacher and he was in New York, teacher, writer. He like, I don't know if this is correct, but I'm pretty sure he taught at Harvard or he went to Harvard. But he like won New York State Teacher of the Year one year. So this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's seen all sides of education, which is very, very interesting.
So, yeah, kind of like all of you guys are talking about, like, we all love to learn, okay? We're here to evolve to learn as human beings. We're just innately built with that yearning and that desire to, like, experience life and to learn about this reality that we're in, right? As much as we can absorb. So, yeah, you guys are like right on the money, because the book that we're talking about, he talks why it's called seven lesson school teacher is because he's talking about the lessons that a school teacher is actually there to teach. It's the background psychological way that the whole system is run. So like you're saying, Grace, that's why you felt really all of those negative ways, is because of this background system of how the whole thing is run. And the first lesson that he brings up, and this relates to you, King, like feeling all over the place, feeling confusion, seeing the teachers not really like even embodying what they're teaching. Because the first lesson that he brings up is the teachers teach kids confusion. Okay, and I'm just going to read a little excerpt from the book here. This is John Gatto talking. Everything I teach is out of context. I teach so much random, disconnected stuff to create confusion, no logic, superficial jargon, disconnected facts, just touching the surface of a bunch of stuff instead of learning about something in depth. I teach the unrelating of everything, an infinite fragmentation, the opposite of cohesion. I teach students to accept confusion as their destiny. That's the first lesson that I teach.
Oh my God, confusion as your destiny. That's literally what school was for me.
Wow.
Damn.
Confusion as your destiny.
You know, that's kind of sad.
Yeah,
Oh
this guy's hardcore. He's really to the point. He drills it in. He does not look after anybody's feelings.
But that makes so much sense because, and that's why like, if I was learning something in school and, they just brush on it and then they're like, okay, next topic. And it doesn't allow you to really like, even like it hardly allows you to like absorb it. And then they're like, okay, it's on the test. And you're like, well, I didn't actually remember how to do it because you just briefly talked about it and then like totally left it. Like, yeah. How are you? That's crazy. And that makes me feel so validated because that's exactly my experience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can relate with it a lot too. Like, I never really connected with school. I always fought the schooling system. I always hated it. Like I did okay as a student, definitely not very well, but like in the, higher average range. And I just remember like finishing grade 12 for me, like I was just so bored at that point. It took like every ounce of me just to like finish the final test of grade 12 just so I could like get the freaking diploma and move on with my fucking life already. Like, so I definitely noticed that it trains that into us, like this confusion of like, whoa, where are we going? What are we learning? Like there's so many places and spaces that you eventually just become like totally, like I don't care about anything anymore. I don't want to learn anything anymore. It's just confusing.
It's so crazy too because my teachers in high school literally said that. They were like, you're gonna hate university, all of you. And I was like, thank you so much. That makes me feel so good. Like they really try to like instill this fear and like this, I don't know. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And a point on that too is they want people to be smart enough to work. Okay, they want you smart enough to work, but not smart enough that you're gonna start thinking for yourself and causing, like going out and changing things. They want you in their confined system. So they train you to be smart enough to do the, office job, answer the phones, do the admin work, all of this stuff, but they don't want you thinking for yourself. Yeah. And that just, so I'll go into the next point here. The second lesson that he brings up that school teachers teach children is indifference. So another expert here from John Gatto talking, I teach children not to care much about anything. When the bell rings, they are to drop everything they are doing and to move quickly to the next class. Nothing ever important is accomplished in my class. They must turn on and off like a light switch. Years of bells will condition all but the strongest to a world that can no longer offer important work to do. Bells destroy the past and future, making all intervals the same.
I love this guy.
Yeah, I just had like a flashback of like high school times when that bell would ring, everyone would go crazy. I'm going home. Nobody's stopping me. Oh god.
Right?
Oh wow.
Like nobody cares. It's just like, it's so true. But that's the psychological. Okay, so all of these things he's bringing up are like the background stuff that you would maybe not notice of how you've been trained to live your life. Okay, because you're going to take this from school and you're going to do this in your everyday life now. If this has been entrained into you, which as he's saying, all but the strongest are going to have most of these traits.
Because as you like go through the days, it's school all over again. You're always just waiting for the bell. Whereas like the lunch bell, whatever your bell is, you know, it's like a literal hypnosis of like, okay, next class. Okay, next on to the next thing. Okay, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. Because like he's saying, we're not teaching you anything in these classes. You're just kind of like mindlessly going through and working for someone. Because like, what is school? It's kind of a business. It's not. It's another business.
It is. And this might not relate, but even like the alarm, I still have trauma whenever I set an alarm and I wake up in the morning and it like reminds me of school. It's just that, it's like the bell. It's just like,
That dread.
that dread, yeah.
You're like, I have to wake up and go to school and be around all these people that you don't even really know, and you're just like all trying to get by, man.
Yeah, it's true.
And it reminds me, actually, this just came through for the first time. Now we have our phones that chime and pull us out of important work, you know, all the time. Oh, there's my phone chiming, and it takes, you know, your brain, like when you're checking something all the time, when you're being ripped from important work like that, you can't get into these deep states of focus. Like we're losing that ability, and that's what he's saying, to do deep work. And that's where real genius lies, in the deep work, in the moments and days that you spend studying something, diving into something, you know, creating something. If you're like, you know, being distracted by these bells, by these text messages all the time, like that's a big reason why we think, like Becca said, why we only see genius in some people. It should be common. And John Gatto says the same thing. He believes genius is common in every man and woman. Yeah, he gets me really good. We can learn a lot from this book. So we will definitely be dropping the link in the description below for you guys to go check out after this podcast or this video that you're watching. But I'll jump into the next one. So his next lesson that the school teacher teaches the children is intellectual dependency. So this is John Gatto again. Good students wait for a teacher to tell them what to do. This is the greatest lesson of them all. We must wait for other people better trained than ourselves to make the meanings of our lives. Successful children do the thinking I assign them with a minimum of resistance and a decent show of enthusiasm. We've built a way of life that depends on people doing what they are told because they do not know what to tell themselves or they don't know what to tell themselves what to do.
Whoa. We need constant confirmation. Am I doing the right thing? Is this right?
I feel that in my life. Like, I feel sometimes, like it takes me a bit to get into deep thought, or like to want to like study film and all these things that I know I have all this creational energy and juice for. But because of this thing that's drilled in me of like, ugh, like, okay, like I think King probably has experienced this too. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you learn this, right? Like, how good are you at telling yourself and at like being initiative, towards what you need to be doing, like by yourself, right? You learn that as an entrepreneur and as a business person. However, yeah, it's interesting that that's ingrained into us, that we literally have moments where we're like, oh, like what do I do, or that we get bored when we have life around us. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that external validation versus the internal, it's kind of crazy because then, that's like, like from 4 to like 18. How many years is that? That's 16 years. And that's like ingraining in your head of like, you need to ask permission first. You need to ask permission first. You need to ask permission first. And then, oh my God. I'm just like seeing all these things now and I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's all clicking. It's all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
It's literally provisional self-esteem. Like, just like you're saying, King, like you need to have permission just in order to like have that self-esteem.
Do this, to do that, yeah.
Which is like, that is insane by someone who is trained. And then here's the thing with school, okay? They're literally teaching us the things that they want to teach us. So whoever they were decided, okay, this is going to be the curriculum, and it didn't even have to be that many people, but only a select few people agreed on it and decided, hey, like this is what everyone's going to learn.
And then that's what becomes normal. That's the it's like, okay, this is what we believe now. This is what is true. And it's interesting. I want to just tap into like something that we're going to talk about later, but the medical history, the medicines and stuff. So I was reading this book, I think it was Law of Human Nature. And within the chapters, it talked about how, I think it was Rockefeller or Rothschild, one of them, he funded like a bunch of college students to like, study or to like make a curriculum that says oil is the medicine. They disregarded holistic medicine, they disregarded alternatives medicine, and they made oil, petroleum-based medicine, the new normal. And it's like there's a lot of articles written about it too. So it's something that really fascinates me because it's like it's like, whoa. Essentially now, if you look at it, it's like, you're kind of just with the school system, they put you in the system, so now you're someone that works for people. So in the system has workers, and then tying into the medical system, now when you get sick, you pay. It's like a slavery. It's what people keep saying, it's like a modern day slavery. And it's like, and when you say this to people, it's like, I don't know, but I mean, yeah, it's like, I think it's a sensitive topic for some, because it's like, whoa, what are you saying? It's all that conditioning, and when you take away that belief, it's like, they don't feel safe, because what I've learned is your beliefs is what makes you feel safe. And for most people, if they believe life is this, life is you go to school, da da da, and you take that away from them, and then there's like, what do I believe in now? Like, oh.
It's very disconcerting because you're literally raised on what your belief should be. And that's why we get so uncomfortable, because it's being ripped away and we don't have anyone to tell us how we should feel anymore.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Oh, and even with the media now, like people are so easy to be like, oh yeah, they told me to do this. They told me to feel this. And it's because, like you're saying, from the school system, they were told what to do, what to feel. Don't say I'm wrong. I'm your teacher. I'm the authority. Like,
you have to respect my authority.
Yeah.
Or else.
And people do. You get punished if you don't listen to it. Like you get sent to detention, literally. And so people grow up programmed to don't disobey.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It ties into everything.
Yeah.
And it's similar to jail, right? Like you get sent to the cell where you don't get out for 24 hours if you're bad in jail. It's very like there's a lot of parallels to school and jail, let me tell ya.
Yeah.
Which is super
Insane.
creepy.
Except in jail, you probably get a better education.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Oh my
I
god.
went there.
She went there. That
She
was
went
funny.
there.
That was really funny. At least they're like, not told what to do, or I mean, told how to think, right? In jail, they can decide what they want to learn, probably, which is a huge problem in our system. Like we're saying, like there was a quote in the book that was like, school is the same as church. It's teachings that you're taking on faith. Like you take that on faith that what they're teaching in the textbook is true.
It's exactly that. Is it true? How do you know it's true?
Yeah.
Did someone pay you to like put it in that curriculum? Like King, you're saying like these people who, came in and were like, hey, we have all this money. We want you to write a bunch of textbooks and this is what we want you to put in there.
Mm-hmm.
But part of like learning and like science and everything is questioning.
Yeah.
You need to question it all because guess what? I don't know everything. You don't know everything. There's a lot of things we don't know. So I can just speak on like my opinions of things.
Yeah.
But it still could be incorrect as well. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too with the educational system. You can't question the curriculum. As a teacher, that's what you have to teach. And then if you don't teach what the system tells you to teach, then go find somewhere else to teach. And it's like, damn, it's crazy.
It's forced teaching for the teachers. John Gatto says that too, and the students, right? Forced learning, forced teaching, all of this stuff. It's very I find it interesting too. Like we're talking on and homeschooling and parents taking their children's education back into their own hands. I find it surprising that we don't see more of that, at least in and around my life. Like, obviously, I can't speak for everybody's life or how much there is out there, but I don't see a lot of that. I don't see a lot of parents questioning the school system like we're saying, and thinking about if they want to send their kids to, they don't question the curriculum even. That's exactly what the school trained, like that's a well-trained, schooled person, that doesn't question these things, that doesn't look deep enough.
But it's hard, sorry to interrupt, but it's hard to even try to question these things because we are so wrapped up in the system that has created the next system for you to start working. So, hi, I'm tired and I don't have time to question what my children are literally being raised on.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like who's actually raising you? Are you spending most of your entire life at school and then coming home for dinner, hopefully seeing your parents and then going to bed? Because to me, the people that are raising you is yourself and the teachers and the students. And why are people having such a hard time? Back in the day, a teacher had 30 students. And that teacher knew the parents and knew if that student was going through anything, they could like take care of them. Now, obviously there's so many people, but the way that our school system works and to be able to even be a teacher, where, they're going through how many kids a day? 200 kids a day? How can you get to know any of your students at all? You're literally just cycled through. Okay, next one. Like, how can you even like fully focus in on the schoolwork that's also being done? You've got tired teachers. You don't even have any curriculum that anyone believes in. It's forced upon. Like, it's kind of sad for a teacher because your teachers are the ones, literally the ones molding you to be the person and to be the people that we are now, which is very interesting because you go to school for such a long period of time. It's most of your life for the first half, right? Very interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because, I think like a child literally is the future of the planet, these kids, they're gonna be the adults pretty soon, and then whatever they learn, that's what they're gonna carry as an adult, and that's what they're gonna pass on to their children. And so I think, yeah, there has to be some sort of integration within the school system.
So, what would you guys think would be like some solutions to like make the education system better?
So for me, one of the things is always to integrate meditation, gardening, and the community aspect to it. Like getting the community involved. Cause when I was in the Philippines, I was transferred to like different schools. So I was in one, two, three, four, maybe five school until I came here to Canada. And in the first one, the third one that I was in, we had this gardening class where, we would learn, because it was a public school, so we'd learn about gardening, how to like take care of plants. And that's something that really changed me. Like, it changed me as a person because I understood and I fell in love with like, oh wow, like I can have this seed, I put it in the ground, I water it every other day, whatever, and then a couple months I would have food. And then, as a young kid, I was like, oh wow, I could do this 100 times. I'd be good for life, And then,
Yeah.
it showed me the importance of nature too, because then, I understood like, oh wow, like, like nature is really important. Like, it's so important. So that's one thing that I've learned from that. And with the community aspect, it's like, we would have like some sort of like not even like dance show, like art festival kind of thing where each grades would have like talent showcase, something like that, because I think bringing the community together is something that helps a child develop, because he can learn from all these people, like, oh that's cool, oh that's cool. Yeah, so those are something that I have in mind. And meditation, because the meditation will just help you become a better person in a way that it helps you creates a perspective and different dimensions of thinking. And as you grow older, you realize, oh, you get to like expand that horizon. So yeah, those are my three things. I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. Those three.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think having it be more personalized on what you actually want to do with your life, because there's so much amazing information out there, and if like it's very valuable to be able to learn that stuff, but I think not everybody wants to learn, per se, like science or math. People have like different things that they're really interested in. I feel like school would be better if it was more personalized in terms of what you actually wanted to learn, because then you could spend a lot less time wasted time, well, not wasted time, but like we've been talking about, you spend 8 hours a day sitting in a classroom learning about stuff that you're not really interested in. You can't really focus on it because you're not learning the way that you need to. If you could have it more personalized, where it's more hands-on if you need it, and you're learning about, say you want to be a scientist, you're learning about that stuff particularly, and then you have like the basics, like I know how to read, I know how to write, blah blah blah. And I was very fortunate to have a really good school experience for a couple years at this school called Waldorf, which was created by a man named Rudolf Steiner, I believe. And he kind of created it so that it was very based on a more natural, organic approach. Like we had painting I think it was every Friday. There was classes of eurythmy, there was woodworking. We learned French and German. Like it was so cool. And we learned knitting, and we did plays, and the classrooms had chalkboards, and the teachers would always draw these like crazy murals on the chalkboards, and you'd come into class and be like, holy shit, that's so cool. And we learned handwriting. Like it was just so magical. And yeah, I went there for 2.5 years, and it was like the best experience ever. And to the kindergartners, they would teach them about like fairies and how to garden. It was such a pure experience. So that would be kind of what I would like to have my school experience be up until grade 12. Because yeah, it was just incredibly magical and artsy and fun and just absolutely creative. Like, you're creating constantly. And I think that's what school should be about. Just learning how to create, learning how to use your own personal expression, learning yourself. What do I like to do? What's my thing? Yeah.
Creating real experiences and like real knowledge that's actually going to stick with you. I think that's so important and really cool that there's actually schools out there. In the book, he actually says that like homeschooling is one of the better options that we can do, because you can literally not train, but like teach your kids how to, love and live with the universe however you see fit, like meditation, like you're saying, King, like you could have meditations in the mornings, you go out to the garden, whatever it is. But if there's a school that could be able to do that, that would also be another amazing option. Independent learning is going to be better than being in a system. An educational system that's been put here not for good. I also think that like some online schools are decent. Grace, you said that you did online school, and I did online school for a year as well. And it was interesting. If you have like the will to get school done faster than you normally would, you can get your schoolwork done really, really fast. And you can also get your school done really fast homeschooling as well. Like me and my brother, we were avid readers, and like we did a bunch of tests, and I think we were like 12 or 13, and we were at like university level reading, which it doesn't really mean much now. Like you're saying, Alyssa, that back in the day, you're like looking at like a math textbook or whatever from like a year 5, and it's like university level now. So what does that even mean? It means that we are being dumbed down, but there is like a lot of hope and really creative processes that are coming out now that it's going to make it easier for you to be able to homeschool your kids, be able to do online schooling, be able to do all these self-taught things, because we have access to things like the internet or like textbooks that we really need. That's another cool thing about homeschooling, is that you can teach your kids what you want to and like whatever resonates with you.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's like one of the biggest solutions I think we have is the homeschooling, like Becca's talked about, and she's our one example of, what comes out of that, and we love her, and she's probably the smartest of the bunch here. So yeah, I went to, like, just going off of what Grace was saying, I went to Waldorf too. I don't know. I was still stuck in my like childhood phase at that point, and they made me sing every morning, which I didn't love. And it was really, really like I was just already trained from grade 1 to 3 in the traditional schooling system, and then was thrown into Waldorf, and so I had a hard time like just letting go, but I definitely bloomed a lot once I did let go. My feminine energy came online a lot. Like I went in grade 3 with short hair, kind of like how I look now. And by grade 5, I had longer hair. I was, hanging with the gals and stuff. So I really developed my feminine energy there. But yeah, the guy who developed it after World War I, because he wanted to just start to help children and build a society where like war and violence wasn't even in our like construct to think about, or that way of thinking was, not even something that we would go to. So that's kind of where the school bloomed from, and that's why it's really catered to the whole child. They say like all the teachers have to, it's like mandatory that they meditate. And I think you can agree, Grace, like all the teachers there are just really like grounded and calm and like, oh, Alyssa, I love you. Are you okay? You know, like
Yeah.
always very soft spoken.
So sweet. Yeah, and every morning, oh my gosh, my teacher, he was so kind. He would like say, one of the things they taught me that I really remember is that I think every morning you had to go in and like shake their hand and look them in the eyes like properly. And they really ingrained this into the students. And I don't know, it really stuck with me because they really like stared into your soul, soul and like
You're
shook
treating
your hand. And it was like, oh my
That's
gosh, you
awesome.
see me. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually like such an amazing thing because you're taking the like, you know, control robot, blah, 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 let's go to school, like kind of vibe out of it and
Yeah.
being like, hey, like you're a person and I'm a person and like I can't wait to teach you. You know, like one of the things in the book, Dumbing Down, the author says, it's hard to see the children as anything other than the numbers they hold, which is very interesting,
It's horrible.
to say the least. Yeah, it's very horrible that like we're just seen like that. But like, what's your student ID number?
Yeah, it's not right.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
dehumanization process. Yeah, it's crazy because even I remember that too in Waldorf, Grace. I felt so awkward doing that when I first got there. I was like, oh my God, like, why do I have to do this? Look at you and shake your hand. It's so freaking annoying.
So funny.
I know.
That's called being well conditioned. You know what I mean? Like, that should not be
Yeah.
a normal way for a child to react. So, yeah, I was really grateful for that school. And the last point I wanted to make on like solutions, like what we're talking about, is just I've noticed this like even growing up and as an entrepreneur and like, you know, growing into my spiritual side too, like learning who I am on a soul level. Just experiencing the external reality of personal growth in all of these areas of my life. I've struggled with like I'll just look at someone and I'll just believe them almost like way back at, like, you know, a little bit further back, I would just believe them, absorb it all. And that was something that I've really noticed as me and Becca have been studying the educational system that is trained in people too, right? Is to just like take what they're told to be true, you know? And there's no self-knowledge, okay? Like children are so innately intelligent. They are like more intelligent than, you know, some of, you know, of our souls that grow up, just because new intelligence is always coming in higher waves and higher ways of evolution because of how much we've evolved, right? So we need to trust these children. We need to work with them. We age segregate them, okay, into classes where they're only with their age group. And that's probably one of the biggest, a huge problem in the schooling system too, is this age segregation, the elder and the child relationship, okay, the elder teaching the child. And the child teaching the elder, and this beautiful kind of, you know, sharing that can happen. We don't know how to go within ourselves and find the answers anymore. And that's really scary because then you're just trusting in this outer reality. You're trusting in these people around you to give you all the answers and to tell you who you are and to tell you what to do. And that's really scary. We need to teach children how to find these answers themselves, solve them themselves, without us telling them as teachers all the time how to think, the answer is, and stuff like that, to go within, to maintain and to mend and to tend this spiritual side of a child and the wholeness of a child, right? So yeah, that's my only solution there, is like we need to really focus on that, giving that back to the child.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Making people human again, realizing that they have the power to like answer these questions themselves, because we have all of the answers we need. We're literally being trained in school how to not listen to yourself and how to look outside of like everything that you know for an answer, because someone might be labeled as like an expert in something that you might not be.
It's so funny too now, because as we start healing, like all of us, we're being more conscious of ourselves, going inside. It's like all we're doing is like deprogramming what we learned in school, because they taught us to not listen to ourselves, to look for validation from others, to stay inside. And now it's like just continuously like, no, I can honor my inner child. I can honor what I believe. It's so funny that we just have to now deprogram ourselves from all of this stuff that was supposed to be good for us. You're going to school to learn good things. Now we're just like, so much
deprogram like 12 years of school.
Yeah.
So I could have been a doctor.
Amen. Well, I think that wraps us up for today. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this educational podcast on the education system. We might touch on it again in the future. These systems go really deep. As you can see, there's a lot of psychological behaviors and ways that they get into a human being system and produce a human being in a certain way. But yeah, we can heal, we can detox this stuff. It's very easy to heal it. It just takes the time for you to go and do the healing work. And that's why we're here, as we always say, is to help you guys figure out how to do that healing work and help you guys go through that journey and be here as your encouraging, motivating system and cheerleaders. So yeah, we love you guys so much, and we will catch you in the next one. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Peace.